interest of keeping on time, and the session is recorded, so anyone who is joining afterwards, welcome as well. So we'll jump straight in. It's lunchtime, and obviously now it won't. Jump on. So my name's Una McMenamin. I'm the Student Recruitment Manager here at Tangent, and I'll be running today's session. I'm your go-to person on eligibility and application questions. So what I intend to do today is run through eligibility and do a quick demo of what an application looks like. And there will be time at the end for questions, and there will be a little bit of time around eligibility as well. And I'll just hand you over to the two other guys on the call. So Joanne, you can introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm the program coordinator for climate entrepreneurship. I've been coordinator for the last 2 iterations of climate entrepreneurship, so would be delighted to meet you all. It's a fantastic course, you'll all really enjoy it. People meet a great network of friends and everything, so it's a great course. So I'll be guiding you through the course when hopefully we see you in September. Thanks.
Brilliant, Joanne. And Jan.
Hello, everyone. So I'm also program coordinator for the creative and cultural entrepreneurship. I think I met some of you yesterday when we were doing a super taster class with Gillian Roddy, which was brilliant. So welcome again, guys. And I will be also meeting you in September once you start with us and walking you along the beautiful long journey we're going to do together within creative and cultural entrepreneurship. And thank you so much for being here.
And Jan's a great source of knowledge on international applications as well. So if there are any of those sort of questions, we'll be able to ask her at the end. So if everyone's happy, I can just jump straight in. So all of our postgrads, or the 2 postgrads at the moment that we're recruiting for, is our postgrad in creative and cultural entrepreneurship and our postgrad in climate entrepreneurship. So for both of those courses, they're both funded through Springboard, and that means that there's a number of eligibility requirements that Springboard asks of you and Trinity would ask of you because it's a postgrad cert. So what Springboard wants is for you to be living full-time in the Republic of Ireland and to have your own valid PPS number. Now, if you aren't eligible, if you aren't living full-time and you don't have a valid PPS, there is another route that you can take. And I know we had earlier sessions of this course where we made it sound like you needed to be these things, but there is another external application process you could make if you're on the call now and think I don't have a PPS number. But for anyone looking for funding, that is generally what we ask. Also, you need to be an EU, EEA, UK Swiss national, or have a stamp 4 EU FAM, or a stamp 6, an Irish permit. So that's all around your residency in Ireland. Very straightforward. If you're familiar with those international visas, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then just around it's all around that permission to stay in Ireland. So we are open for refugees, those on subsidiary protection status. We also, there is an application process for Ukrainians as well, so we're happy to talk about that. And then we also look for anyone who's lived either they have to have lived in the EU, the EEA, the UK, Switzerland for the last 3 out of the last 5 years, and that actually would eliminate a number of returning residents who've lived maybe outside of Ireland. So every year we have a number of people who have just been living in Dubai or Australia. So you wouldn't be eligible for funding if that had been the case. So that would be part of your documents that you would have to upload. So that's it on the nationality and visa requirements. I'm not going to read it all out, but it's all pretty much straightforward. As long as you have been in the country for the last 3 out of the last 5 years, and that you have your EU, EEA, UK, or you're a Swiss national, or you have that permission to stay. So any of those, although it looks like a big page, take a screen grab now if it's something that you want to look a little more into. Then on the academic side, so this is what Trinity asks of you. This is a level 9. So we are looking for people who have completed level 8. That's level 8 on the national framework. So when we talk about levels, that's the Irish system. I know might be people on the call who've gone through other systems like the UK or international, and what we're looking for is an equivalent. So if you are applying, we would need you to do a NARIC form, and I have a little link here for that, or you can search it. It's literally just an equivalent downloadable form that you can get for your qualifications. So that's on your academic side. We would ask then that you make your application through one of the 4 separate categories that Springboard asks you to self-identify under. So that's employed, unemployed, a returner, or a recent graduate. And the purpose for that is, again, back to that funding need. So if you're employed right now, you apply with the undertick employed. If you're unemployed or intend to be unemployed in the 2 weeks and the 2 weeks previous to the start of the course, then you have to apply as unemployed. A returner is a homemaker. It's actually not someone who's returned to the country. A homemaker, or someone who's returning from caring duties, or someone who was economically dependent on a partner or a spouse for at least 9 of the last 12 months. And then recent graduates. So that's anyone who's graduated recently over 2022 or 2023. And funnily enough, if you graduated in 2021, you're not considered a recent graduate, so you can just put yourself down as employed, and anyone before that. And we have lots of people who graduated in the 70s and the 80s, so all that is just, you're just employed. I do have a list of supporting documents in here. You'll find them on the springboardcourses.ie website under eligibility. I don't know, we could put a link in the chat, it might happen. I see there's one chat in there. Brilliant. That was Jeanne putting in the QQI qualifications. So, and that's it on the eligibility, I think, if it will jump ahead for me. Does anyone have any questions?
You could put your hand up if you have a question.
Anil has raised their hand.
There's just one there if you want, Una. Somebody was asking, they're returning to work and have been a homemaker. They do not have any paperwork to confirm this. Will this be a problem?
No, so there is a form on springboardcourses.ie that you can get filled out. Just go into the eligibility criteria, and in there, maybe Jeanne can find it. It's the returner form. You just have to, it's quite common. So you'll just have to select returner as your status, and then Springboard have a form that they just ask that you fill out, and it needs to be signed by, I think, like a commissioner of oaths. So yeah, that should be fine. And that would be your paperwork to confirm it then. Does that answer your question? And then Yvonne, a link to the documents in the last slide, proving you are covered by one of the 4 categories would be great. I can just go and grab that now. Hold on. Oh, what happened? No. Always the way. Oh, screen sharing has stopped. I don't know how I did that. There you go. Oh, no open answers. It disappeared. I did paste it into the, I'll paste it into the chat now.
Do you want to open up the mic for Anil, as you were saying? Is that okay if I open up the mic for her now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I'm just gonna.
Did that link go in for Yvonne?
It did.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, hi,
So,
it's Anil.
Hi, Anil. What's your question?
My question is simple. I don't qualify for many of those, but I like to do the course. I'm about to finish my MSc now in Trinity, and I'm just another month to go, and I thought it'd be perfect for me to continue. What can I do? I've got a stamp 2 visa, and I've been here since September. I'm a mature student.
Will you be, so is it that you don't qualify under the residency?
I think so. I think most of it I have not stayed here for 3 years. And
Yeah, so that's around funding. So you could apply as an external candidate and pay. So you have a non-funded place. So I could pick this up with you afterwards, Anil. Um,
I mean,
I
I would like to get the funding as well, because after
Yeah.
this, my whole idea is doing all this so that it adds to the profile. I can get a job
Of
later,
course.
and I believe
Yeah,
Ireland will allow me to stay here for another 2 years to apply for a job.
of course. Yeah, look,
So
we can pick it up afterwards. Just around funding or not funded places. So
okay, that's
yeah,
great.
happy to pick.
Because,
There'll be an email address at the end, and if you email me, I'll pick it up. We can have a little chat afterwards. Is that okay?
yep, sounds perfect. Thank you.
Great. And there's a few more questions here. Porrick, I'm self-employed. What document I need? There is actually a self-employed category, and I didn't list it there because it really falls under employed. So it's exactly the same. You can use, sometimes people who are self-employed provide themselves with a pay slip, and they can just put themselves under employed, which is easy. If you put yourself under self-employed, and you don't say you don't provide yourself with a pay slip, you can put in, it's things like your company's trading name, your accounts, recent accounts, your recent tax return forms, that sort of things, just proving that you are self-employed. There's a number of forms that prove you're self-employed, and they're on that list of eligibility documents that you need. But at the start, when you are applying, you just need one kind of tax form that will get you over the self-registering, self-identifying yourself as self-employed, and then we'll ask for further documentation once you get your place. So if that answers your question, I think it should, Borg. And then Edward, what about mature students? No formal qualifications. So that wouldn't be a mature student. That would be someone who's applying under recognised prior learning. There's a RPL policy on the Trinity website. Every year we do get a number of them. So RPL, what we're looking for is someone who has life experience on in the areas that you're going to study, so whether it be creative or climate. So it's really falls down to your statement of interest. We want to see a really strong statement of interest, really strong CV. And then what we're looking for is for you to undergo a RPL interview, which is a 15-minute interview, and then you are put forward as an RPL candidate. So if you want to do that, you can absolutely. So under your degree section of the application, which I'll go through in our demo, you can upload any CPDs or any short courses that you've done. Just we need to see the highest level you've got to, whether that's a level 4, level 5 or level 6, and then we can review your application. Hopefully that answers your question, Edward. Thanks for asking that question. I've been a carer for the last 2 years. Does that qualify me as a returner? Yes, that does, absolutely, because you have to be, is it 7 out of 9 months or 9 months? Yep. So yep, that would qualify you as a returner, absolutely. And you could get funded that way. I'm a recent level 7, 2023, which is this year, for a springboard course. Would I apply under recent graduate or something else? You could apply under recent graduate. You might find it difficult if you're 2023, you need to make sure that your status has been updated on Springboard, that you're not still enrolled. So if anyone was on a 2023 Trinity course, if you were in our January cohort, you wouldn't be able to apply for this time around because exam board we're undergoing exam board now, so you wouldn't have your final results. So that's probably more important than your status. You need to go in and check what your status is on springboardcourses.ie. So once you've successfully completed the course and you've been given your grade, then you can apply for another. But if the course hasn't given you your grade, you're not going to be able to apply. So that's probably more important. But I do recent graduate if you have got that far. Hopefully that answers your question, Liz. And Porrick, yes, I will get a letter from the accountant or the solicitor. Perfect. Yeah, that's it. Just proving that you're self-employed and that you have yeah, that you can apply that way. But like I said, if you do supply yourself with a payslip, that is the easiest thing you can do. So people do pay themselves from their own company accounts. So that's the one that's usually straightforward, but people usually have their tax or accountants as well available. But like I said, you have to self-identify before you're given a place. So don't go, we don't want to see, I don't want to see books of accounts in the first stage of your application. Once you're given a place, then we'll ask for those further supporting documents. Yeah. I have a stamp 4, but have not been in Ireland for 3 years, only the last 2. Do I qualify? If you go back to that screen, so if I read it out, because it can be quite confusing. So we're looking for, you have a stamp 4. This includes
You're not
those.
sharing screen, Una, just to let you know.
Yeah. Sorry, I should share my screen. Thank you so much. Actually, do you know what I'll do? I'll just take a picture of this. So under the eligibility requirements, it does say that, oh, it won't let me send a picture. Under the eligibility requirements, it does ask that you have a stamp 4. So it looks like stamp 4 would be straightforward, but if you go into, where is it? Sorry, I have the link here. Oh. It's under Am I Eligible? Under here, you can read it all. Let's see, chat. Send. So I think with a stamp 4, you would be eligible, but you have to be living in Ireland full time. You have to have a PPS number and you have to have your stamp 4. So that living requirement with the 3 out of the previous 5 years, I'd have to see, we'd have to probably on a case by case, because would you have lived in Ireland for 3 out of the past 5 years by September, or when did you arrive in Ireland is probably when you need to look. So it's hard for me to say one way or the other. I can pick it up afterwards. Who can be reference givers, please? What if it also takes longer than by Tuesday to receive the references to pass on? Ideally, you would have your full application complete by Tuesday. So sorry, this is a 2-part question. So to answer who can be your references, we're looking for 1 professional. And I was going to get into this now when we do our demo. So that's 1 professional and 1 academic. On your professional reference, we're looking for someone who's worked with you, who has knows you, worked with you in a professional capacity and can recommend you for the course. On an academic side, it doesn't have to be someone who was involved in your undergrad. But ideally that would be the case, but we're looking for someone of academic standing who can recommend you for the course. That could be a person that you did a CPD, a continual professional development course with, or someone that you've trained with in the past, someone that's from an academic background that you've worked with. Even we have people who are self-employed who have clients who are academics, someone who knows you and that's space and can recommend you with their academic standing as a good person for the course. And then regarding your second part of your question around Tuesday, ideally you would have your application complete. So that's 2 references on headed paper put in with your application. If it was the case you're just waiting on 1 reference, you can still put your application in, but we'd never be able to process it until you have all of your supporting documentation. So it kind of just stalls your application. At least your name is still in the running, and you can try your best to get your references. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way because you could lose your place, if you were qualified to do so. So I would be keen to get your references in by Tuesday, but you can put your application in
And you
without
probably
them.
should submit the application documents, like definitely submit all the documents and just follow up with your references. But
Yeah.
definitely submit for sure. Get it going.
Get it in. Yeah, good point, Joanne. Mohibia, 21st of December. Was this the question around when they'd arrived in Ireland? I think the best thing you can do is email me afterwards and we'll have a look at exactly how long you've been in the country and I can let you know. Oh, a load of questions just come in. Hopefully that answers that question. Can the referral be, I'll have to jump onto the next section in a minute. Can the referral be from an academic or professional who is a relative? An academic or professional who is irrelevant, or well, they would have to say what, like any normal reference, we would ask that you'd start a reference with how you know that person. So if it's, I am this person's relative, it's probably not going to make for a very strong reference. Ideally, you would start, any reference would start with, I know this person on a professional capacity. I've worked with them for 8 years. I know this person on an academic background. We studied together, or I was a lecturer, or etc., etc. If it's a relative, it's not going to be a very strong application. So I'd question the strength of it. Hopefully that answers your question.
But again, Una, I would say do upload it for the moment and we'll come back to you, if it isn't strong enough. I would say definitely get it, and and once your relative puts in why they feel that we're ideal for the course and why you should be doing the course, you can make it strong that way. So I would definitely go ahead, upload everything and use those letters, and we'll come back to you if we feel it's not strong enough.
Yeah. Thanks, Joanne. Does an academic reference have to be from a lecturer? No, like I said, it doesn't have to be from an undergrad lecturer. I did say someone maybe that you'd studied with at ideally it would be a lecturer, but could be someone you've studied with, done a CPD under. Even there are professional bodies, chartered people. They have a certain level of academic background. So you might have worked with someone who's a chartered, I don't know, engineer, accountant, who knows you on an academic and professional level, and can support you with their title as a chartered person. That might help. But again, ideally, then it comes down to how strong that reference is. So yeah, and you do have people who work with doctors of some professions, so PhD students, they are considered academics, of course. So just think about it. There might be someone in your life, or someone you studied with, who's gone on to be in academia. That's another angle you could take. But they're willing to support you for the course. Right, I'm going to have to take these last two and then that's it. Requirements say references must be on headed paper. Is this necessary? Yep, absolutely. All references should always be on headed paper. It wouldn't be a reference without it. This is you are applying for a level 9 postgrad, so it's important that these documents look good. And then the last question, I said this would be the last, so we've on. One of my academic references is a PhD who trains with me now. She is retired to Dublin from a university in South Africa. Doesn't have headed paper anymore, save for address headed with her qualification typed on it. Will that do? I don't know. It's hard to say without seeing it, but she must work for someone. Sorry, I'm assuming the genders here, but that person must work or represent someone in some shape or form. If
they're retired or whatever,
yeah.
I would say do go ahead and get them to put in their details, as a header, as you say, and submit it anyway, and we'll come back to you. But for the moment, use that. As you say, some people are retired and they're a doctor and they know you well, and they'd be the perfect type of person to give you a. So we'd take that into account, Una.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to say without seeing it in front. If it was a screenshot of an email, no, that's just all I know. That we won't take. And then, yeah, can you use tangent lectures? Yeah, if they're happy to do it, they're independent in a way. So if they're happy to give you a reference, I'll be happy to take one from our tangent colleagues. So that's it on questions, and we'll run straight in now to a demo. So let me see if I can share my screen. Share screen. There. Can everyone see my screen? So this is the Springboard Courses website. This is our third party in Ireland HEA funded site where you can apply for lots of courses, not just with Trinity. We have lots of other institutions in Ireland that run their courses through Springboard. So it's actually quite useful. You end up having a profile. That's my profile, and you can apply for up to actually 10 courses at a time. So I'm going to show you how to apply for our course. And then we can jump into more questions. So the Am I Eligible section, that's what I was referencing, that they're quite a bit. You'll find all lovely links and useful information in there. Search courses, this is where you'll see courses from all over the place, and I'm going to put in our climate course just as an example. So what I tend to do is I put in a keyword. You can of course pick Trinity as well, and this should bring us to our course. So there it is. You can see our deadline is next week, 6 days away. So what we're looking for is everyone to apply as soon as possible. So apply now, and this is where we get into our self-declaration. Now, when you're doing this process, I would ask that you read every single last word. So it's just really important that you understand what you're getting, what you're applying for. So it's very important. So I'm going to jump in and do the questions nice and quickly. I'm applying on the basis that I am. So this is one of what I deem, I've gone through it as 4, but there is a little more section. So there's formerly self-employed, unemployed, employed, self-employed, a returner, a recent graduate. So I'm going to apply as an employed person. Now, if I was to apply as a returner, it looks exactly the same. So it's just important that you self-declare yourself as the correct one of those. And it does say if you fall into more than one category, please select only one. So we do have some people who are on DSP payments now, but they know they're going to be starting a job in September. So for those people, you would apply as employed, and the other way around, if you know you're going to be coming to the end of your employment and by September you'll be unemployed, then apply as unemployed. Am I living in Ireland full time? Yes. Do I have a valid PPSN? Yes. We know if you have neither of these, you are not eligible. I meet the nationality visa requirements. So here's your stamp 4. So for that person who was asking the question on stamp 4, you do, yeah? So you said yes, but I will have lived in either the EU, the EEA, the UK, Switzerland for at least 3 out of the last 5 years at the point that the course commences. I'm getting loads of little notifications. So it's yes or no. And it says here, if you are stamp 4 EU, residency is calculated from the date you first received the stamp. So again, back to that person who had asked that question. So this is your self-declaration. If there are any of these sections that you have completed and are not correct, it will be discovered at the offer stage, because there's quite an in-depth review of documents at that stage. So it's useful for you just to make sure that those are all correct. So understand that if I'm offered a chosen place, the course provider, I'll be asked for more support and documentation. So happy to proceed, and there we go. So now, if you've never done an application through Springboard, it's going to ask you for your first name, your last name, your date of birth, your duration of residency, lots and lots of lovely stuff, which I've already put in. So that's all really, really straightforward, and there's no point in me going through that with you now. But what I want to go through with you is the documents, supporting documents that we ask, and we review before offering you a place on one of our courses. So up first is your curriculum CV. And what we want you to do is choose a file. And I've got a nice little folder. So what I ask, or what would be really easy for you guys to do, is to make sure that you have all of your documents sitting in a folder on your computer, and it's easy for you to find. So, and we also would, oh God, I put in a zip. Sorry, 1 second. Just trying to get, I did have a CV example in here, but it's gone. So I'll put in, I'm just going to rename this, rename CV. Now I would put my name as well. Means it's useful for us when we're looking at our files. So I'll put my CV in there. I have it as a PDF. What you'll notice is you can't upload multiple documents. So if you are trying to upload multiples, you do have to do a zip. So I've just shown you that nearly by accident. Next up is we have our statement of interest. So we just go again, look for my statement of interest, which I created earlier, and I include it. Your reference number 1, again, this is to be JPEG, GIF, if photo files or docs, ideally PDFs are the best. Choose file, statement of interest, easy. Now your degree, you might have multiple degrees. Sometimes we have teachers or people who have arts degrees and masters and they want to upload everything, or you might have those NURIC forms. So if you've multiples, what you want to do is put a zip file. Now, if you've never zipped a file before, you just create a folder on your computer. Now, this is different if you're on Mac, but this process is pretty similar. You just put a few files into a folder, you right click it. I'm doing this because it's funny, a lot of people don't actually know how to zip. So you just send to zipped folder. Then that's it. Zip2 is what we're calling it today. But you could rename it as, oh, it didn't let me rename for some reason. Usually it would. You can rename it as degrees. Una degrees. Okay. And then
Una, just to mention to them there, that wasn't some, the zip folder isn't some fancy folder. It's just create new folder. Una just happened to call it zip. So it's not, it's a regular folder.
Good point, Joanne. Sorry.
And then, call it what you want. And then you zip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joanne. Yeah, it's just any folder with multiple files. It's funny, it just won't let us upload multiples. Then your proof of eligibility for Springboard funding. So this is just a start-off point for us. So for most people who are employed, we're looking for pay slips. If you're on a DSP payment, a receipt of that payment would be fine. If you're a returner, it's the homemaker declaration form that you'll find in that eligibility area you have to upload here. So easy, choose file, get it, proof of eligibility, open, there we go. Then put in your other reference, so your reference 2. And then that's it, easy peasy. So that's really all you have to do. You can then save your application, come back to it. So it's not a case of having to do it at one time. As you get the documents, you can save the application, come back, save. But if you are ready to apply, you can apply to the course. Please ensure that all the information is correct. Now, you do have the option to go back and re-upload documents, and a big part of my role is actually getting back to people and saying the strength of that reference isn't good, or like we've had people put in references that are screenshots of WhatsApps, that sort of thing, and we would generally get back to you and say that's not going to work, you need to upload something else. So there is a time, you can always go back and change. And it also states, if you're unemployed, you're going to be charged if you haven't identified yourself as unemployed. So it's really important that back to that initial piece where you said you were a returner, a graduate, self-employed, unemployed, and that was done correctly. So we just press OK. There I am. I should have applied for the course. It should disappear. There it is. And you can see that I've got a reference number. And then springboardcourses.ie is your one-stop shop for updates on your application. When you do when you are given an offer, it's done through springboardcourses.ie. You'll receive an email, but it will also update here. When we're looking at your application form, you'll be moved over to pending, so you'll know someone is reviewing it. But for the most part, most people are going to find out about the next 2 courses after the closing date. So that's after the 8th. So we will endeavour to give most of our candidates an update in the week, the following week to 2 weeks post closing date. And we're hoping to get through them really, really quickly so that we can prepare those for enrolment in September. So that's how that works. And now we can open back up to questions. I see one has come in already. Do you have any advice on the letter of interest? Yeah, make it personal to you. Showcase. Go and look at the Tangent website where we have information on the program. Read about the academic outcomes, and what I would do is apply that to yourself, your career, and where you see yourself post course. So yeah, I would make it really personal to you, demonstrating that you would be a really good fit with those on the course. So showcasing your passion as well. That's the best I can say. If we were to give you examples, I think it would, it's not helpful. We want to see individual applications, Amelie. So hopefully that answers your question. We have 10 more minutes for questions. So if there are any, just shoot away. We've answered 21 already. Joanne or Jeanne, do you have anything else to add? Anything else you've thought of over the last 30 minutes?
I would say with the statement of interest, really you just want to explain why you want to do the course, what you're interested, why you're interested in doing the course. As I say, what is it that piqued your interest in it? Why are you excited about it? And also just include things that would be, relevant to you getting a place in the course. As you say, if you're an RPL, you want to say, well, I don't have a degree in climate or whatever, but I do have a background in, and stuff that's relevant to the course. Just show yourself off, sell yourself is
exactly, Joanne. Yeah.
And then if you do, if they're fantastic courses to get on, because when you come in here, not only is it's great crack, but also you're a Trinity student and you have the full set of resources that a Trinity student would get. And there's an abundance of resources. There's loads of stuff going on in Trinity. Plus you're going to meet a fantastic network of friends that are like-minded, and people make friends for life, in here. So, and you'd stay an alumni in Trinity as well. So you get loads of resources there. So it's good. It's great crack. Do come on board, I'd say.
I'm a postgrad. I'm an alum of our innovation course, and I've made friends for life, but I enjoyed having my student card for the year. I got my Trinity graduation and my day out. So you do get the full benefit of being a student as well. So it's a good point to make, and you do get a great day out with your family on graduation. So
it is beautiful, isn't it? The graduation.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it really is. Gowns and all, hats, everything.
And we'll support you. The program coordinators will support you through it. So for returners that haven't been to college, I know myself, when I went back to college, I nearly had a heart attack. But it's okay, go for it. And, we're there to guide you through it. If you're questioning yourself in Tangent, it's all about failing forward. It's all about, having that mindset of, what, we're all the same. We're all in it together. I can do this just the same as everybody else is, and I'm going to give it my best shot, and there's support there to help me through this. So if you're wondering, am I able for this? Go for it. Definitely go for it.
Definitely. Louise has asked the idea of the size of the statement of interest. I think we say 500 words on our application. I'm looking for 1 page. I don't want to see War and Peace It's not going to do you any justice to have a really big statement. Looking for it to be succinct and to the point. But at the same time, we're not going to penalize you for being over the limit, 510 words, but close to just a 1-page A4, ideally is what we're looking for. Neve has asked, is the academic referral, can it be someone who is in academia that knows you well, or does it need to be someone who you've studied with? Someone who knows you well will work, of course. But like any reference, they'll have to say how they know you. So that's what I'm looking for. So if they know you just by being neighbours, that's going to be weak enough. But if you've worked together or worked on projects together and they're in academia, yeah, that would be fine. But ideally, it is someone you've studied with. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Joanne.
Oh, no, I suppose it could be a neighbour, but they could know that you're extremely passionate about the subject, and they could be friends with you for years. You know what I mean? So once you just kind of explain that, just make it the application. You know,
once there's an understanding.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. I just meant someone who knows you from afar.
Yeah.
That's probably not a good reference. But yeah, you're right. I'm a mature student and just past 60 years plus. I'm finishing my master's at TCD this month. Stamp 2 and in Ireland since September 2022. Any senior citizen benefit or plus point fast track? I think though, because you're Stamp 2 and in Ireland since September 2022, you wouldn't fall under the residency eligibility. You can send an email afterwards and I can have a look. There's no senior citizen fast track. You would be in great company. We do have a lot of people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who apply. Yeah, PPS number is fine, but if you remember back to me during the demo part, we're looking for resident of Ireland, PPS number, then that you've your eligibility on the visa part, and then whether you've been living in Ireland for 3 out of the last 5 years. So again, just go back and look at the eligibility part of springboardcourses.ie, and if that doesn't make sense, send me an email and I'll have a look, and we can say either way. But it might just be that you just have to wait a year or two, you know, to meet that requirement. It's just for funding. It's not for it's not an academic requirement. It's outside of our remit. It's something Springboard asks for. So I'll leave that to answer afterwards.
Congratulations on your masters.
And congratulations on your masters. That's a brilliant achievement at that point of life. It's amazing. On my course, we had some people in their late 70s, and they were some of the best students, the best crack, and the ones you wanted to get in your project teams. So that's one great thing about our courses here, is that you have people from such diverse backgrounds and age groups. It's not just people from a certain
the full scope.
Absolutely. So, and that's why you end up making those friends for life, because they're really strong groups.
And that's why the learning is so good as well, because you're picking up like from all different age groups. The learning is huge in it, you know, and backgrounds, all the different backgrounds as well, which makes it really interesting, you know.
Exactly. So we're at the hour or the 45-minute mark. I see now there's 3 more. No, there's not. If everyone's happy. Could we put a poll in? We had a poll. So just before we all depart, this is new to us now, so hopefully this works. What I want to know is if you intend to submit an application in the next 6 days. So we have 2 courses closing next Tuesday. We always get a lot of applications in the last week. It's only natural. So what I'm trying to figure out is how many of you guys on the call are making those applications. So we've 12 already. So let us know. Of course, you can obviously be on this call for some of our other courses that are coming up. So we have our healthcare innovation course, which will be opened soon. And we also have our innovation enterprise postgrad as well, which will be open for our January intake as well very soon in the next coming weeks. So we have 16 people already. How many people do we have on the call?
18.
18.
So 2 people not planning and applying for whatever reason.
That's great.
Really good.
That's it. Yeah, thanks guys. Joanne, thank you so much for joining, and thank you to everyone on the call for all your questions, and hopefully we'll see you in September.
We just have a few questions, Una, just regarding how many
no.
places we have available. No, it's okay. I think they're easy to answer. So just how many places we have available on the 2 courses we're running in September. So we have
In the
55 for creative and culture.
Thank you.
And climate, I'm not sure anymore, Joanne, sorry.
53 for climate.
53.
So
There you go.
we're gonna make 53 or 52 pals.
What was the other
Brilliant.
question? Okay, great. Are we good to end the call, guys?
Thank you so much for joining us, honestly.
Yeah, thanks
Can't wait
very
to meet
much.
you all in September.
Yeah, see you in September.
Thank you all.